Hello and thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins. My name is Laura. In today's video, I am sharing some of my book collection, specifically my Anne of Green Gables books. So I covered this movie in April, I think. I did a book versus movie, or maybe it was March. I'm not quite sure, but it was recently. And this was my second time reading the book. I did read it before, and the first three books I've read back in 2019, and I loved them then. I read the first book again this year. Again, I loved it. Fantastic. Highly recommend. For me, it is like the ultimate comfort read, which I'm all for reading difficult books. You know, some books are difficult for a variety of reasons, but I'm all for that, reading books that challenge you. But there's also nothing wrong with a comfort read, right? Just a book that you just can enjoy and sit with, and just that brings you enjoyment, right? So that is Anne of Green Gables for me. I love it so much. It's not like a riveting plot, but it is just so wholesome and sweet, and there are lessons to be learned, but it's not like in a cheesy way. At least in my opinion, I don't find it cheesy. So it's very endearing, and it's like things happen in that book and things are said in that book that I have taken to heart and I think about. So yeah, really love it and highly recommend it. And I thought today I would share off some of my books because I have quite a few books specifically for the first one, Out of Green Gables. That's the first book in the series. And yeah, let's get right to it. The first book is this vintage edition of the very first book. And I am so proud of my vintage editions. And I am actually going to switch camera angles, and I'm going to show you these books from a first person perspective. So here is my vintage edition of Anne of Green Gables, the first book in the series. So here is the title page. And I love the Anne of Green Gables books because they have this, where it tells you exactly what edition it is. Not all books have that, so especially older books. So yeah, this one is the 38th printing from 1914. So it's the 38th printing, but it is still over 100 years old. And this one is illustrated. I do try not to touch this book too much because it is so old, but it's still fun to flip through it and admire the illustrations. And it is in decent shape considering. So yeah, next up is Anne of Avonlea. This one obviously has faded, so you can't really see the title so well. This one is the 40th impression from 1928, almost 100 years old, originally published in 1909. And now this one does not have illustrations. Unfortunately, only the first one does. But I just love having these vintage copies, and I'm so glad I have the first three. And this last one is very exciting. It is Anne of the Island. And this one is exciting because, clearly it's not in the best shape. Oof, falling apart. But it is the first edition from 1915. So excited to have a true first edition. Again, this one is not illustrated. And you do have those pages early on that are kind of falling out, but considering it's still in decent shape. And now that I've shown you my vintage copies, it is time to move on to my Folio Society edition of Anne of Green Gables. It does come in this solid green slipcase, but you know, nothing really to show with a solid green slipcase. But yeah, so moving on to this Folio Society edition. Moving on to my Folio Society edition from 2004. Illustrations by Anna C. Leplar. These illustrations are definitely more like, it looks like something from a children's book. But I mean, this is a great book for kids and adults alike. And I still really like the illustrations nonetheless. Like this one is really beautiful. And I did want to bring some attention to these smaller ink drawings, which I also love. I have another one right there. So yeah, the 2004 Folio Society edition. And then, last but not least, is my Easton Press edition of Anne of Green Gables. I really like that this one has like something different on the cover rather than just like the design that most Easton Press books have. And this is my most recent purchase. And last but not least, we have my Easton Press edition. Very beautiful. I really love the illustrations in this one. I think they're my favorite. And they do have black and white illustrations, which you will recognize that this is from the first edition. So it's cool that they have those mixed in here as well. So beautiful and vibrant, just like Anne. So yeah, I am very happy with this Easton Press edition. And honestly, I mean, I love my vintage copies, but this one I think I like next best, and I like it better than the Folio one. But I'm glad to have both. And that wraps it up for my Anne of Green Gables books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I highly recommend Anne of Green Gables. I love it so much. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video and check out my Anne of Green Gables book first movie video that I did. It's only like 20 minutes long. It's one of my shorter ones. It's also available as a podcast as well if you would like to listen to it. So once again, thank you for watching this video and I will see you next time. Bye.